We are told evil has spread in the world, and if it touches you, it will corrupt you and kill you. Evil takes many forms to reach you, and we meet Mama, who wakes up on hearing a noise outside. She goes out and hears some frogs and sees evil trying to reach her and quickly goes back inside. She checks her two sons Nolan and Samuel sleeping and asks them to wake up and be ready for morning. Nolan tells us most of people in world have died because of evil and have been converted. They can leave the house with rope by tying it to house and are protected by it and the love they share. They eat breakfast and have very less food, and Nolan even feeds the dog, and they wear their shoes. They say a prayer, take their whistle and tie their ropes to their waist, and get ready to go in forest for food. Mama takes her weapon as she can only see the evil, and they all decide to never let go of the rope. They go in different directions, and Nolan says his grandfather built their house and blessed it with power. Hence, no evil can come in, and Mama sees some evil and goes to her parents' grave who have died. Mama collects some insects, and Samuel hunts a squirrel and gets some insects and eats a frog. Nolan finds a nest, but it has broken eggs, and sees an egg on ground but cannot reach it due to rope. He tries to remove the rope, and Samuel comes and stops him and says evil is doing a trick on him. He says Mama will decide, and they go back, and Nolan hears Samuel say Mama loves him more. Samuel denies saying this, and Nolan steps on his rope, and Samuel falls down and injures his leg badly. Nolan blows whistle, and Mama comes running sensing some danger, and Samuel has lost his rope. Nolan removes his rope and goes to help him, and Mama sees her rope is short to reach her kids. She quickly removes her rope and sees a dead woman coming towards her kids and runs to save them. They all run up, and Mama ties the rope around all, and the woman stops coming near them. She smells them and disappears, and they all come back to house, and Mama asks them to touch wood. They touch it and say prayer, and Mama checks whether they convert or not in evil, and nothing happens. Mama is angry on them for removing rope and applies some medicine on Samuel's injured foot. She says evil looked like her mother, and she had seen her before also, and at night they eat the insects. Mama says evil will come in many forms, and one day it came in form of a girl and asked for help from her. She didn't help her, and the girl died in front of her, and tells the boys to never let the rope go and believe it. Evil will require only one touch to convert them, and later Mama puts Nolan in crawl space to pray. He says he saw everything was normal, and Samuel also goes to pray, and later the boys play together. Nolan asks Samuel if he saw anything without the rope, and he says no and asks would Mama kill them. Samuel says Mama killed her parents and her husband because they were touched by evil and changed. She did is to protect them, and says he wishes he was like their dog Coda, who are affected by evil. Nolan apologizes for stepping on his rope and feels Mama is hiding something, and they go to sleep. Mama is sharpening her knife and sees her dead husband, who says he needs to see his sons. He says one day he'll get close to them and eat them, and next day Mama lays some seeds in garden. She says winter is coming soon and they won't be able to go outside for food, and Nolan asks about evil. Mama says if evil touches them, they will kill each other, and Nolan says they could be other people. Mama says no one is out there except them, and we see they are living their life in the house. Slowly their food is getting over as time passes, and they getting less to eat, and Samuel is able to walk. One night they listen to some music and they all dance together, and later Mama takes a bath. She sees Nolan is sleepwalking and takes him back to his bed and ties a bell on his leg to alert her. Next day she decides to go outside for food and ties the rope and waits for an animal to hunt. She sees a crow eating her son Nolan and gets scared and tries to kill the crow, but it flies away. She knows it's a trick and decides to take tree bark as food and makes food out of it and feeds to all. They have difficulty eating it, and next day go to get more bark, and Nolan hears a noise and sees no one. Suddenly, he is pulled towards the well and wakes up in middle of night outside the house with no rope. Mama comes and rescues him and asks to touch the wood and puts him in cellar to pray, and he pees there. At night, Nolan tells Samuel they need to go out and look for food as Mama is also starving and weak. Samuel says it's dangerous to go alone and goes back to sleep, and Mama is having bad dreams. Next day, she takes out a camera from a wooden box and shows it to boys who are seeing it for first time. She explains them how camera works and shows them her old picture and their picture as babies. She says the camera has one picture left and wants to take it now when they are strong and can speak. She says the winter has been hard and they have no food left and only water is left and only one option is left. They have to kill Coda and eat him, and Nolan is upset and says no and says the dog is like a family member. Mama asks Samuel and he also agrees to kill Coda, and Nolan cries and goes away with Coda outside. Mama comes and takes her weapon and takes Coda away from Nolan and goes towards the garden area. She hugs Coda and cries and prepares her weapon to kill him, but Nolan comes and says evil is not real. She needs to see this and cuts her rope and locks the door, and Mama begs to let her out and screams. Samuel comes and attacks Nolan, and Mama sees the evil is here, who says she is going to eat her babies. Mama takes broken glass and cuts her throat before the evil can possess her, and the boys see this. Samuel runs inside and tries to wake her up and even ties the rope around her and says a prayer. Samuel cries and hugs her, and Nolan is shocked to see this and ties the rope around his waist and leaves. At night, Samuel is still hugging Mama and sleeping in garden, and Nolan looks at their old picture. Next day, Nolan searches for Coda, who has run away in jungle and hides, and he makes tea for Samuel. He takes some grass and makes tea, and Samuel asks Nolan to touch wood and say prayer with him. Samuel is sick from hunger, and Nolan decides to go out and find some food and ties rope and goes out. He makes a long rope and travels through the jungle and finds a road and screams for help and sees no one. When he returns home, he sees a hiker named Cole who has lost his way and sees the rope tied. He asks if Nolan is okay, and he says their mother died and his brother is sick because they don't have food. Cole offers some food, but Samuel comes there with a gun and says Cole is evil who killed Mama. Cole says he is going back and doesn't want trouble, and Samuel asks him to stay still and readies weapon. Cole starts walking back and Samuel shoots him with arrow in back, and Cole gets injured and falls down. He gets up and runs towards the jungle, and Nolan goes after him to get food and searches for him. He sees blood on ground and finds Cole bleeding, who tries to call police, but is unable to speak. Nolan snatches his bag and leaves him and comes back to house and finds many food cans and opens one. Nolan quickly eats, and Samuel comes there and says the man was evil and he shouldn't eat his food. Nolan says Mama was wrong and lied to them, and the food is real and there are other people in the world. Samuel doesn't believe, and Nolan forces him to eat, otherwise he will die, and Samuel says that's better. This way they will see Mama again, and Nolan apologizes for what he had done with Mama. At night, Samuel feels hungry and eats the food and sees Cole's wallet and sees his daughter's picture. He finds a torch and sits outside playing with it, and suddenly hears a noise and goes near garden to check. He hears someone inside and opens it and sees Mama's body, and suddenly sees a girl outside. The girl says she is looking for her father Cole and followed his footsteps here and asks if he has seen him. Samuel says no, but the girl recognizes the torch and says it belonged to her father, and Samuel is caught. He says her father died in an accident, and the girl gets scared and runs from there, and Samuel follows her. She runs in forest, and Samuel is following her with his rope and gets stuck and decides to let go off rope. He removes rope and goes after her and sees the girl climb a tree, and she comes down and changes in evil. She touches Samuel, who starts changing and falls on ground, and later Nolan wakes up and goes outside. He tries searching for Samuel and sees his rope and pulls it to find it is not attached to him, and gets scared. He hears Samuel calling his name and runs in jungle, but doesn't see him and then sees him near rope. Samuel cuts his rope and Nolan quickly runs and comes back in house and hears some noise from above. He goes up and sees Samuel sitting on bed and sees evil spreading above him, and Nolan takes his hand. He touches wood and prays, and Samuel takes a knife and tries to kill him, and Nolan runs outside and locks door. Samuel takes a paper and starts a fire in house and lights the curtain with fire, and Nolan notices smoke. Samuel goes outside and sits in front of house, and Nolan starts coughing and comes out on the roof. He tries to climb down but isn't able to do so and goes back inside and sees Mama is there waiting. She tells him to come with her, but Nolan doesn't believe her, and Samuel takes a picture outside. Mama says Nolan has destroyed his family, and he gets scared and runs down to the cellar and opens it. The house is burning, and Mama follows him to cellar, and Nolan grabs her and shuts the door. He remembers his old times and keeps hold of Evil, who struggles to get out, but Nolan doesn't let go. Evil starts dying and transforms in a snake-like form and dies, and Nolan gets unconscious in the cellar. He is found by rescuers later, who give him oxygen and airlift him in a helicopter and leave from there. Nolan wakes up and asks about Samuel and sees him sleeping next to him and reads the photo he took. Samuel has Evil's hand on him, and Mama was right, and Nolan sees many houses, meaning more people are there in the world. Samuel wakes up and says Mama loved him more.